That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
All right, guys, we talked about the quarterbacks, fallers, and risers. Now I think it's time we move on to another position, recapping from weeks 1 and 2. And now let's look at the running backs. And yeah, I mean, guys, I obviously the major fallers of the running backs are just everyone who's getting injured. I mean, there is just an insane amount of turmoil around the NFL right now. And that's why we have to continue. I mean, it doesn't matter if you lost Saquon Barkley. It doesn't matter if you lost Christian McCaffrey for the next 4 to 6 weeks, because everyone is dealing with the injuries and everyone is in it together. Now, please do not give up on the fantasy season quite yet, because I understand you could have had one of your key starters go down for the year, but that does not mean that 7 of your other opponents did not have the same exact thing happen to them. And all we have to do is make it to the fantasy playoffs. And once you make it to the fantasy playoffs, anything can happen. So this is not the time to give up, even if, say, you had a guy like Saquon Barkley and Courtland Sutton together. I mean, guys, there's ways to work the waiver wire. There are ways to work trades where you can make it out alive. You can make it to the playoffs and then maybe hit on some other guys that are going to be able to propel you forward. But before we get into the video, I want to give everyone a massive, massive thank you for supporting the channel. I mean, I say this every video. We are the fastest growing fantasy football channel on YouTube, and that is due to y'all liking the videos. That is due to y'all subscribing to the channel. That is due to you leaving comments, and that is due to y'all leaving donations during our live streams, allowing us to improve our overall setup and our video quality. And I know, yeah, very little of it is to do with anything that I have going on. It's all of your great support that is propelling this channel to the very top. But yeah, let's jump into these running backs, and let's start with a rookie out of UCLA in Joshua Kelly. So I got a couple questions about start-sit questions with Kelly during the live streams this week. And I am sorry right away. This is one thing that I messed up on. I told pretty much everyone who asked, I said, hey man, you can't start Joshua Kelly. I was like, he is going to be a useful player down the line. But I mean, going into week 2, where we have to understand that they are going to be a massive, massive underdog to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that the Chiefs are going to be ahead this game, pretty much the entire game. And we're going to see more of Austin Eckler used in the passing game. And Joshua Kelly is going to be more the running back that you want to use in the obvious running game situations. So that is going to call for game script where the Los Angeles Chargers are actually ahead in the game or play a competitive game. And what I did not see happening is the Los Angeles Chargers being up on the Kansas City Chiefs throughout the entire game. And what is actually more surprising is not only did Joshua Kelly get in there and just rack up an insane amount of carries, had 23 carries, he actually went out there and caught the ball as well. I mean, that is one thing that we had not seen from Joshua Kelly. I know some people were saying that he had that capability coming out of UCLA, but I really wanted to treat this situation as like, I'll see it, then I'll believe it. And I mean, we saw it. So Joshua Kelly came out here at 23 carries, went over 100 yards, and also added 2 receptions to this game. So, I mean, this is a player going forward. If the Los Angeles Chargers look like they are going to be favorites in the game, I mean, he's pretty much playing the Melvin Gordon role. So it looks like Joshua Kelly is a guy that possibly after week 1, you got him off waivers, and it's going to be the same thing as drafting Melvin Gordon in the 3rd round of the 2019 NFL draft, especially if they have Justin Herbert in there. Justin Herbert looked like he was able to provide a ton of just dynamic ability to this offense, which is really going to help propel them forward. I'm kind of worried about Tyrod Taylor coming back in because he was announced that if he is healthy, he will be the starter in week 3. And I guess I am just very hesitant to believe that. I think that is more just letting Tyrod, while he's dealing with this chest injury that we have no idea really what's going on, just giving him a break, telling him not necessarily to worry about it. And I find it very, very hard to believe that they're going to turn the reins back over to Tyrod Taylor after Justin Herbert was so close to beating the Kansas City Chiefs. But now let's move to the obvious running back. And guys, I am sorry if you had to go up against him in your fantasy football matchup, because you most likely lost if you did, and this was Aaron Jones. So Aaron Jones, I kind of am looking like I'm going to be wrong about him in 2020. There were a ton of questions that I've received, and this is another thing. I told y'all, I was like, okay, here's the situation. Jamal Williams is getting carries. They took A.J. Dillon in the 2nd round of this year's NFL draft. So Aaron Jones, while he's incredibly efficient with the touches he sees, I just don't know how many he's going to be able to command down the stretch, and especially during the fantasy playoffs. I mean, guys, it looks like it does not matter, because Aaron Jones only got 18 carries this game. He did get 4 receptions, but this totaled for over 200 total yards. And then you look at the touchdown category, he had a total of 3 touchdowns. I mean, over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. with 4 receptions, Aaron Jones just completely led all of your fantasy teams to victories if you were able to get him in your starting lineup, if you were able to get him in your fantasy draft. And yeah, guys, that one is on me. Very sorry if I told y'all not to go out there and trade for Aaron Jones, because I know I did get some of those questions during the stream. But out of the, I believe, probably thousands of questions I answered, I mean, we did miss some, but we cannot get them all right. Now, let's go to another running back. I don't want to spend too much time on Aaron Jones because it's not like Aaron Jones was at the very bottom of anybody's fantasy rankings anyway, but a guy that everyone was giving up on after week 1 was James Conner. So James Conner, I mean, if you went on Twitter, James Conner was literally trending. People saying that he was complete dust. People saying that Benny Snell looked better. I mean, even Matthew Berry felt the need to chime in and say that Benny Snell looked better. But here we see James Conner come back, and when James Conner is healthy, it's clear that he is going to be the 3-down bell cow running back in Pittsburgh, and I think that's something that we need to take notice. And James Conner went out there, commanded 16 carries, 2 receptions for over 120 yards and a touchdown, and this was no cakewalk matchup either. I mean, he was going up against the Denver Broncos defense, which by no means is near the top of the NFL, but we have to understand, just a week ago, in week 1, they actually went out there and they gave Derrick Henry a very tough matchup. Derrick Henry never really got to break off any long gains, and they didn't shut him down, but they definitely controlled him. And that's why I was a little bit worried about coming into the week 2 with James Conner. The one good thing about this situation, though, is if anybody asked about Benny Snell in this week's live stream, once we learned that James Conner was active, I almost picked the other side every single time. I don't remember ever telling someone to start Benny Snell, because we know that when James Conner is going to be in the game, James Conner is going to be the bell cow. Okay, but let's get to one more thing I was wrong about. Guys, this is not looking good for me this week. I'm going to have a profitable, I'm going to have a winning fantasy football week, but it's not going to look like week 1. I mean, week 1, y'all can see the matchup behind me. We went 12-3 in week 1 in our meaningful fantasy football leagues. Those are leagues that require at least a $60 buy-in. And then we are looking at this week. I still think we're going to break 500, but by no means are we going to win another one of those 12 matchup type weeks. And regardless, James Robinson is one of these other guys I got wrong. I did tell a ton of people to start him going into week 2. So, I mean, I'm glad that I was able to help your fantasy football teams. But I did not have James Robinson in a single lineup, mainly because I was worried about his upside in this Jacksonville Jaguars offense. I did not trust Gardner Minshew. I've already lived up to kind of accepting the fact that I look like I am wrong, that the Jacksonville Jaguars aren't going to be by far and away the worst team in the NFL this year. I mean, look at the Vikings, look at the Jets, but regardless, James Robinson came out here, commanded the backfield yet again for the second straight week. I think now we can fully buy into the James Robinson hype. It may be a little bit too late, but that's sometimes the cost you pay in waiting to see. But anyway, he goes out there, commands 16 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, yeah. But you can't really do anything else other than look at that James Robinson stat line and come away with the fact that he is the bell cow running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And as long as Gardner Minshew continues to be able to move the ball down the field, which I don't necessarily have a ton of faith in him doing the rest of the season, I mean, that is going to be a valuable position. All right, let's recap it with what I believe to be, outside of all the injuries, the number one storyline of the week is Leonard Fournette takes over this Tampa Bay Buccaneers backfield. We did not know how long it was going to take. I thought that it was honestly probably going to take 4 or 5 weeks before Fournette was able to kind of supplant Ronald Jones. But Ronald Jones goes in there, fumbles, and Tom Brady just says, hey, man, get this bum on the bench. Bring in the big man in Leonard Fournette. Fournette comes in, 12 carries, over 100 yards. What was actually really impressive is I know a lot of people wanted to discount his receptions that he saw in 2019, saying that Leonard Fournette was not actually a good pass catcher, but he just kind of fell in that opportunity because the Jacksonville Jaguars had no better option. But, I mean, in week 2, he went out there and caught 4 balls, which is going to be massive for his PPR value, and he ended up with 2 touchdowns. And whenever Leonard Fournette went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know my analysis was, it's a decent spot, but really I only see his upside if he's going to be able to get that goal line work, and this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense goes out there and scores a bunch of balls, and maybe he can be a LeGarrette Blount type. And, I mean, that's kind of what he showed us. He looked to be a LeGarrette Blount plus with his receiving game capability, and we know that he has the straight line speed to where if he can get past the linebacker group, I mean, he can take it to the house. He is a threat to score a 70-yard touchdown on any down. And I mean, him going out there, supplanting Ronald Jones, I think that maybe we see this backfield kind of split exactly 50-50 in week 3, but I don't think it takes very long for Leonard Fournette to kind of come in here and just take full control and get that 75% touch share and really turn himself into a low-end RB1, high-end RB2. Yeah, so Leonard Fournette, massive, massive, massive winner in this week. Now, thanks guys. That's all I got for y'all. Really hope y'all enjoyed the video. Really hope y'all got something from it. As always, y'all know I'm going to be just continually grinding out these fantasy football videos for you throughout the entire week because we have a ton of work to do. I may try to live stream tonight. Now, if I can't live stream tonight, I will 100% sure be live streaming on Tuesday, on Wednesday, possibly after Thursday night's game, definitely Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. So please make sure you're subscribed. If you want your questions answered, just make sure you are subscribed and you have the bell hit down next to the subscription. That way you know exactly when I go live. You can be one of the first people in here and you can guarantee yourself an answer. But yeah, thanks guys. That's all I got for y'all and have a great day.